This is where we have been after working on the tool and filling in a model inside the tool. We will post from this tool to its repository. It will trigger a mediation into the SML repository. Then we can look at this repository, or we could create another tool that will pull or get the model from that repository. Here is our dashboard. We have the tool over here. Clicking on this book shows. So in the dashboard we have this icon. It says here, post this tool model to its repository, PRT104 UML repository for mediation. Let me put the mediators on. This is the mediator, which is associating these two ports, 105 and 104. These two ports are now checked as OK. This button will show the operations graph based on the current filter. So the tool we have can export into this repository over here, 104. We can also export to this repository from any tool which is working according to the ontology 101. Likewise, this other tool, this other repository here that we have 105, could be imported into tools that we don't have currently on our configuration. We didn't create one, but a tool that is bound by the ontology 102. Between these two repositories, we have established a mediator, entity 106, and it works according to the rules 103 UML SML that we see here. So we have this information. We can go back to this desktop. We can now click on this button. So let's do the experiment. What we see here is that it finished submitting the content into the repository. In fact, we can see here that everything finished. It has been exported into here. If you click on this book, we can see the content. These are the content of this repository, and this is the graph for that. And this other repository has been mediated into, and we can also look in this one, and you can see that it also has resources, but we can notice the difference that here every resource has type which is from SML, part and block, as you see here. And if you click on the graph, you can see that it has the has block and has part relations, and that everything here is part and block. And we can see also that the names and the comments are all the same. So we can figure out that what happens here is a plain terminology mapping. Let's go back and see again the PRT104. Here everything is class and objects. Okay, and we click on this graph, we can see that the relations are has class and has object. Class and has object, and that the types are objects and classes. Now we can see more about what happens. We can look at the mediation itself. So the mediator here has also a show content. When we click it, we can see that what happened in the mediator, that it mapped resources from PRT104 into resources in PRT105. They are not exactly the same numbers, like this is 003 and this is 002 to 004. It doesn't really matter, those numbers. But better is that they are doing the correct mapping. Let's click on this open. We can see expansion of the two resources. You can see the resource 003 here and 003 here. One is of type SMS block and one is of type UML class. One has object and one has part. SML has part and UML has object. So we can see we have a relation into a resource number 4 here, resource number 2 over here, with the relation has part, and they have a description which is class A in this example, the same description here, the same title here and here, because these are the same in both ontologies. We also have a graph rendition here that shows us that the resource 3, which is pointed by has class from resource 5, which is an object, and which points into resource 4, which is an object, through the has object relation, and it has been mapped into, you can see that the object 5 was mapped to object 5, which is to part 5. You can see that object 4 was mapped to part 2, and that the class 3 with title A was mapped to class 3 with title A. We have here more information, and we can also see the description. Both of them is the same. Okay, so this has been the mapping that is recorded in the mediator for all the resources that we have mapped. Let me close this view. Here we have another button, shows mediator trace. It shows us the trace that has been done by the mediator as it has been analyzing the different resources. It can tell the developer or who understands the intimacy of the mediator what really happened here and how things have been mediated. You can see here that has block, equivalent property to has class, has been used, and that has part, equivalent class to has human object. All these rules have been used to apply to the different resources in these models. Okay. One more thing we can see is the execution log. If you click here, we can see that there is a job. You can click on jobs here. We can see that there is only one job. Show all again. How we can look at the task, we can see that this job has basically two tasks. One of them was posting into PRT 104. So from PRT 107, which is the tool, we ported to PRT 104, posted. This post was plain writing and creating a model exactly with the same properties and relations as the model in the tool. Next, we had a mediation from PRT 104 to mediation 106 to PRT 106. If we open it, see all the different stages and the time it took to do each and every one of these mediations. You see that everything here, the timing here is very small. Let's go into a certain repository and let's look at a few other features we have over here. We've seen before that we have an RDF visualization. You can click here to choose different formats, best of which is the turtle, like we said. You can also download it, or we can go back to the show list. What we have here is the ability to look at each individual resource and to also look at the picture that we've seen before already. I'm closing that. We can click on the resource itself, like here. This will also open us another view, but which allow us to trace other resources. Or we can look at the graphics for this one. What's nice about this display, we can make it a bit smaller so you can see it, is that it is these resources are also can also be clicked on, like the human object. So we can see it in the middle, and we can click again, and browse the model as we go along. We can go back to the list view. Again, so every click here brings up the resource. Now we look at resource number 2, and now we look at resource number 5. Okay, but if you click on these arrows, we can follow to this other resource, and it's kind of browsing through the resources one by one. We could also see who is pointing at us, okay, using this one. So we can see we can go forward and backward along those lines, and we can go into depths of 5. So one nice thing about this view is that we could modify in the tools. But clicking on modify allow us to change things here just like an edit text editor. So we can of course make mistakes and ruin the structure over here. For instance, we could have this one. Let's make this plus, 2 pluses over here. And if I save, it will alter the resource with that, or I can cancel it. If I save it, we can see here that it is successful, and now it will be like that. We can now cancel our editing after change it, and we can see that it has been changed, and now it is plus plus. Okay, we can modify it again. Go back to the list view. Now this is list number 005. In the list view, 005 is this one, and indeed its descriptions now have a plus plus in it. All right, now one more thing we have here is that the types are also highlighted. If you click on a type UML class, for instance, it will bring us a SPARQL query dialog. Here we have a button called More, said More, which allows us to open this particular window that will contain more information. So you can see it contains a template of a SPARQL query. So we can fill things here, but the query currently is we're looking for all the resources where the resource is a UML class. UML is defined as a prefix over here. So everything here is very concise. And we could also enter order by statements, offsets, limits, and execute the SPARQL with this button or with the button on the top. So we click here, and it performed and returned us these 2 resources, which are of class. And now over here we now have quite a few things to choose from. We can also choose to show here the has object, and we can of course order it by order accordingly, or do a descending or ascending order. You can see that the SPARQL changes accordingly, so you can learn about SPARQL from here. You can also put here distinct or a reduced keyword, and this will change the SPARQL query, and we can execute it. Now we have also the has object, which is this one, and of course we can add here more statements after we learn to do it. But here I can put also the description for my subject resources, and I can see also this information over here. I could save it, my queue. Once executed, it will be recorded as my queue, and now we can go back to the list view or back to the dashboard itself. Now, this concludes our demonstration of mediation. Thank you very much.